I say
Hi,
welcome back
Charlie.
because welcome back to Zoom, because you and I talk nearly every day.
Yes, we do.
We do, because the one thing, it's one thing to know the theory of something, and I get to hear a lot of things. Some are accurate, some are not. And when I get some doubt as to whether things are right or wrong, the first person I call is Michelle. And I've got Michelle, I've got Dee Dee Panesar, I've got Peter. I've got quite a few people there that are very constructive and they understand it. And they get it because of they don't have the connections I have behind the scenes. They have the ability to be able to channel, to be able to understand things, and to break down the jigsaw or the five-dimensional game of chess that we're playing and try and
Yes,
make some sense of it.
yes.
So welcome anyway, and we're gonna discuss today probably one of the fun things of what we're going through right now: timelines.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. Well, for those people who've watched Michelle and I have been talking for quite some time now. Very early on, over a year ago, Michelle predicted that we would be coming into a period, but she said it's 12 to 18 months away. And that was 12 months away, wasn't it, Michelle?
Yeah, I think we were talking probably about March or April this year.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was saying that before we saw anything for the masses, if you like,
Yeah.
it was going to be between 12 and 18 months.
Yeah.
And based on what we're seeing so far, that looks like that's taking us into about February,
Mm-hmm.
which I've been given as a major turning point for things to start moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean that on the 1st of February, we're going to see everything right there, unraveling, but it does mean that we're going to hopefully start to see some forward movement.
Well, I suppose if you look at numerology, the 22nd of February 22,
Yeah.
22222,
Yeah.
could be a very good marker.
Well, 222 in angel astrology is about blessings, many blessings.
Okay.
And also February of next year is when we go into the year of the tiger.
Yes.
So this is Chinese astrology.
Yes.
So we're currently in the year of the ox.
Yeah.
And the ox is like this slow kind of strategic plodder, and it gets all its ducks in a row. And this is what this year has really felt like. It's felt like the military and the alliance, they have a plan of action. And rather than aligning it to a certain date,
mm-hmm.
what they've been doing in the way that I've been being taught is they've been aligning it to events. So it's event driven rather than date driven.
Yes.
And so when we move into the year of the tiger, what happens then is we go into a sign which is much more forceful, starts to move everything forward again. And it actually represents the military. It's the sign of the military. So it would make sense to me that this is the time, when we're going to start moving forward. And it's also the time when the Trump TV and Trump social and everything is going to be launched. So, we have a lot of things coming together astrologically with the Trump communications, with the collective consciousness, which is, I don't know if you can feel it, Charlie, but from when we last spoke, I mean, it's completely changed. We've actually breached the tipping point some months ago.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of sustaining itself and it's evolving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important what you said there, because at the moment we're in the year of the ox, and what you alluded to as an ox is renowned for churning over the land, preparing the land. And we've gone through a year of preparation. The land is being prepared for us to move forward. And February, as you rightly say, we move into the year of the tiger, which is action, which is military, which is things will happen a lot more quickly than when in the year of the ox.
Yes.
A tiger happens to be a little bit quicker than an ox.
Yeah. The tiger is impatient.
Is impatient, but the ox has done the hard work. And this has been a year of hard work, of preparing, turning over, cleaning out all the rubbish. And it's been a tough job, but we're very, very close. We're in the end of November, and February's just around the corner. We're not that far away. There's things that will happen between now and Christmas that I know about.
Wow.
Which are constructive.
Yeah.
Constructive. Whether it becomes public or not is irrelevant. You can tell by my face without me telling you we're in a very good place.
Yeah.
Because I'm not allowed to tell you, because otherwise I get a rap across the knuckle. So, but I try and do it without giving too much away. I gave it on the Insiders Club on Saturday. I said to people, if you can imagine building a house, the foundations have been dug, the concrete has been poured, and it's set. The first row of bricks has been laid. Now we're at the damp course level. That's been laid. We are now starting to build, so you'll start to see something that's visual. Okay, I'm just doing a video here with. Do you want to say hello to Michelle?
Is that Justin? Hello, lovely. You all right?
Yeah.
Now in school.
Tomorrow. Yeah, right. Let me finish this and then we'll talk about it. All right, he's 2 children in his class.
Yes.
Have managed to catch the impossible.
Oh, have they all been sent home?
All been sent home. And it's quite funny because half the class got sent home yesterday. Justin was apart. They all got sent home. So he came home. So the other half of the class, suddenly the penny dropped. Hang on. They're all at home. So one of the kids has obviously thought, I need my mum to phone up and say, I've got COVID. Now they've all been sent home. So they're laughing their tits off. I mean,
yeah.
They've got it. Justin knows. The High Court in Spain has ruled that COVID-19 does not exist.
Yeah.
It's been proven in the Supreme Court. Secondly, the PCR tests were outlawed on the 20th of October. The school is still demanding PCR tests. And I just said to the headmaster, if you demand a PCR test from Lee, ever so simple, our relationship's over. I'll send him to another school.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't need one from you. So we don't need one from you. Well, okay. Well, he can come back in on Monday. No test. I know. This shows you the absolute rubbish. And I pointed out to him. He said, "Look, we just need to do as we're told with these people." I said, "If you just conform, you're making my job harder. You're making my job harder. You have to stand up against this. You have to stand out. And if you stand out against it, you become outstanding."
Yes. Yeah.
And if you're just complicit, then you'll be lost.
And it's good to see now that around the world we are having big protests and people are starting. I mean, if you compare to where we were a year ago, when I was saying, people need to start standing up and saying no. I mean, people are doing that now, so that's helping everything to move along. And like you were saying, we have got the foundations in place.
Yeah.
Some of the timeline with the US, what they were explaining to me was that we needed, first of all, that Starlink to go live for everybody. So we know that the infrastructure was up there for some time.
Yes.
But it didn't actually go live for you and me till about, I think it was September, maybe even a bit later than that.
Yeah.
And what they were explaining to me was some of the delay was that they showed me this vision where the military were holding hands around the world and they were all signing in to the Starlink at once.
Yep.
And when I asked what that was all about, they explained to me that the Nosara Jasara template, which we all know about, is just one layer.
Yeah.
But in order to finish it off and complete it, we need every country or region to now be signed in to the Starlink.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to be signed in so that they adhere to what the first principle of Nosara Jasara is all about, which is, first of all, you must maintain peace within your country or region, and with other countries, and you must also maintain peace with your citizens.
Yeah.
So in order for them to be able to use the Starlink, they need to be able to at least fulfill those first 2 criteria, or that's how it's been explained to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so once all the countries then are lined up and they've got those contracts signed in line with these peace treaties, then I think we have a really big chunk of what the alliance have been doing behind the scenes for all this time sort of lined up. And they said to me that when 73% of the world was signed in through these Starlink contracts in line with Nosara Jasara, then that's when, you know, we would be ready to go on that level. So obviously there's lots of parts in this plan. And I think Starlink was a major piece of that puzzle.
I totally agree. Something that I hear from the inside on a daily basis is, Charlie, there is so many moving parts, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And
Literally.
Charlie, everything is under control.
Yeah.
And everything is going according to plan.
Yeah.
They're not taking any risks. They're not in any hurry. There is no timeline. They're working methodically to get it right. They're driving out evil. They're destroying evil. They're taking it apart. A lot more has been taken apart than we actually know right now. Most of the arrests have already been done. The pantomime arrests will be happening right now. The hard arrests have been done. There is a huge amount of body doubles and clones out there that are just keeping a status quo right now until such times as the world is ready.
And I've always had that for a long time, that the white hats are in control. If anybody watches my work, they'll know that I've been saying that for a good 12 months, if not longer. And in fact, they said to me that the white hats have probably had feet, you know, boots on the ground for a lot longer than that, probably, you know, 6 years. And before that, going 15. Back probably as far as 15.
Yeah.
Obviously not as much control as they've got now, but they've been systematically working their way forwards. And about 6 years ago was when they got a real foothold.
That's correct.
And that would have been, I would imagine, around the time that Trump was coming in. And then since then, as far as I've been taught, they've had control. And,
on that journey, if I go back 9 years ago to when I was told, I was told they were going to shut down the world's economy for a global financial reset. That's what I was told.
Yeah.
And then if I go back 6, 7 years ago, it was just, how long ago was it that Trump got into term for the first office? Is that 5 years?
It's about 5 years now. Yeah.
5 years ago, they said, we're nearly ready to go because we've got Trump in office.
Yes.
That was their words. We're nearly ready to go. And then when Boris Johnson took over and they got rid of Theresa May, because Theresa May is a major deep state operative.
Absolutely.
A major terrorist to the British people. And once they got Boris into office, he was somebody that they could control.
Yeah.
Whereas with Theresa May, she was out of control.
There's another interesting thing I've been feeling recently, Charlie, which is, if we rewind, I used to think that the UK would go last or be one of the last to do things. But now I think because Boris Johnson has been doing as he's told, we might actually be quite near the front now. We might be one of the first people. We might be one of the first to be in line.
Well, I know Australia was due to be first.
You thought Australia was going to be first?
Yes, that's what I understood.
Okay. And I think, so initially I was being told that Australia, the UK and Canada would be towards the back because they were taking so long in their consciousness.
Yeah. They've woken up in a hurry.
But so much has happened in this 12 months that they now have all moved to the front.
Okay.
That's my feeling anyway.
Okay. As long as Wales is last, I don't mind. My godfather's from Wales, that's all. I like to tease him.
Yeah, I haven't asked specifically about Wales, but, you know, perhaps they'll come last in the UK stakes. You never know.
You know, that's the home of all the sheep, isn't it? Yeah, we're in a fascinating time right now. There is so much happening for those who can see. And I'm very, very grateful for the spiritual people like Michelle, who've also lifted my spirit and focused my spirit. And I keep saying to people on this journey, we're at a phase right now in life where you, as an individual, can choose your path in life. You can choose your own future. You can do, your future can be exactly what you want it to be, because everything is now possible. Now we take away the constraints of slavery. And I give the example of musicians and painting artists. Your love has always been music. Your love has always been art. And you've never been able to fulfill your dreams because of financial constraints.
Yeah.
Those days are going to be over, so you can express yourself.
Exactly.
And there are many others that can express themselves. How many people join certain jobs, not least of all production lines, and enjoyed their job?
Not many.
Now you've got the technology to do production lines, so that the first thing to do is to build your self-confidence in you as a living soul, that you have a worth, you have a value. What motivates you? What turns you on? What makes you want to get out of bed? I was listening to Steve, I can't think of his surname, and he was saying this morning, people get up and go, I've got to get up. I've got to go to work. I've got to do this.
Yeah.
And it's enslavement. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And you're feeling down on yourself. If you change the O to an E, and I get to go to work, I get to get up. It changes the whole mindset. Just one letter from got to get.
That's
I get
true.
to go to work. I get to wake up. And it's that simple. It's not hard.
No.
Change your mindset, you become positive.
In the new world that they keep telling me about, like you said, with the quantum system being able to set us up in a different way financially, and to free us from a lot of these mundane tasks, because a lot of this now is going to be robotic and automated and very different in the future. So a lot of us will now be able to financially do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And so we won't have that feeling of getting up and, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. You'll just be getting up and doing what you really enjoy, what you love.
There's a lot of people on this planet who just like looking after people. A lot of people. They just like caring for people. It's in their DNA. They don't want to go to work. I'd much rather look after my mum. I can't afford to. Look after my dad. Can't afford to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there, a lot of very good people out there who've been downtrodden, looked down on. The world we're moving into, you don't look down on anybody. Everybody is equal. Everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of where we're going. And
another thing that they explained to me recently was we kind of look at our lives in stages, and then we kind of either we look forward to retirement or we dread it, because we don't, if we're not, say, got much money, for instance, or we got health problems, then retirement is this looming thing that's happening over here. And something that they told me recently was, we're not going to break up our life like that anymore. There's not going to be like a retirement.
No.
You're going to come into the world as a sovereign being. You're going to be able to do what you want to do and enjoy it. And you're not going to be worried about, when you have to retire. You won't even know that word anymore. You'll just be able to do what you want, when you want to do it, at any stage. So there won't be these stages that we've got now, which kind of force you into certain routes, like school and then university and then, apprenticeship or a job you don't really like. And then before you know it, you're retiring, and for good or for bad. So they're going to stop that kind of, like you were saying, I've got to do this, I've got to get through this stage. We won't have that anymore. It will just be that you're alive. You're just alive.
By chance, I was just thinking about it as you spoke. My grandfather never retired. He died at his late 90s. My father hasn't retired. He's in his late 80s now. I retired when I was 44 for a week, and I was bored shitless. I was absolutely bored senseless. And I didn't like it at all. And I've been busier now than when I was working, certainly for the last 2 years, and I love it. I wake up every morning and I enjoy it. I have, shows at midnight. I have shows at 4 o'clock in the morning, all kinds of hours. But I enjoy what I do. And for this whole journey has been, for me, it's been absolutely wonderful, because just to have those pieces all I had was the 4 corner pieces at the start of this journey.
Yeah.
And I've had to find all the rest. And finding them has been so much fun.
Yeah. Well, when you work with others in a team, you start putting it together. It makes more sense than if you just sit on your own and you don't ask what everyone else is finding out.
Sure.
You need to work together.
You do. We've got Tara, who's working hard, Lee, even Nick Veniamin, he does a lot of work, bless him. There's a lot of people out there doing an awful lot of work, finding out stuff. Drew, who does all her stuff. There's some very, very good people out there that are working hard to try and establish the truth. For those people who can't be bothered, it's I had that saying sent to me the other day, which I absolutely loved, about let me just find it here, about here we go. Most people don't want to be part of the process. They just want to be part of the outcome.
Yeah.
But the process is where you figure out who's worth being part of the outcome. And I thought that was so apt, because there's so many people, I just want to get back to normal, just want to get back to normal. Our rights, our human rights, our God-given rights have to be fought for. They're God-given rights, but the devil and Satan have tried to steal them from us.
Yeah.
And we need to stand up and take them back. And a lot of people are not. They want to go back to what we were before. Let me assure you of one thing. We ain't going back nowhere.
No, back is not one of the words that they ever use. And if you want things to move forward, and you're only listening to this for the first time and you're wondering why everything's so slow, it's because we need you to start taking some action and start taking your place in the line of all of this. Because part of what the white hats are waiting on, and it is just one part of it, but it is about the collective being ready to take on this new world. Yep. And, if they're not ready to be able to stand up and be sovereign beings and do things from a more remote position, because in the future, they've been channeling to me that we're not going to have all these, we're not going to have governments. We're just going to be voting from our quantum system. Maybe that's our quantum phone or a quantum laptop, quantum watch. We're going to be voting for policy and not people. So if we, in our local area, it's going to be as very down to earth as this. If in your local street, you as a community are talking about who's going to collect the rubbish or mend the roads or whatever the situation might be, you will just be voting from your quantum voting system, your watch or your phone or whatever it is, to the Starlink, and you'll be telling it who you want in your local area to do that service. You won't have anybody up in some building in London telling you what to do anymore. So everyone's going to have more input, and this system at this level where we are with our quantum phones and things can't be hacked. So whatever we vote for, whatever policy we vote for, we're not going to be relying on a person to then follow it through for us, and then they change their mind once they're in power, because we're voting for policy which will then be implemented directly from what we all say. There won't be someone else, won't be these layers in between that are using all our money and distorting everything. And then if you think about the practicalities of that, we're some way away in the sense that a lot of it will need to be robotic. Who knows? We might have robots coming and emptying the bins. We just don't know. We're moving into a completely new technological world. So when people are worrying about, well, who's going to empty the bins? These, in the bigger picture right now, are very small details. The main thing right now is that people are just open to the fact that they're going to have to start taking responsibility for what they want. Yep.
Exactly. Well, you used to live here in Spain. And you talk about the bins. They empty our bins every single night, but they're not outside our house. They're at the end of the road.
Yeah.
And that, England, if I'm back in England, there's certain days, oh, we do it this day, we do it this for this day, this for this day, this for this day. And if you put the stuff in the wrong bin, you get fined. I mean, what a load of bollocks. I mean,
it's a mess,
can't make
honestly.
it up.
It is a mess, Charlie, because like in Spain, you just everybody throws everything into one big bin, and one lorry comes along and tips out that one big bin. In the UK, they come every 2 weeks, and you've got, like you said, 6 different things out the front for each house. So how time consuming is that? And then all the traffic is backed up because nobody can get past them.
We have a lovely thing because Spain tried to be like England, and they had 6 different bins, but one lorry came and picked them all up. So everybody put their stuff in separate bins, all different colours. Then one lorry just tipped them all into the same lorry. So that really worked well. And it was put on YouTube, and the Spanish government did everything they could to take it down because they bought into the theory made up by the European Union how to recycle, and then thought, bollocks, we just send one lorry and pick the lot up.
The other thing is that Spain, they pick the rubbish up at night when you're all in bed. So there's no traffic. So it gets done way quicker.
Of course it does.
But in England, what do? They send all the men out at school run time.
Yes,
and
exactly.
The roads are completely chock-a-block with traffic.
Yeah.
And it's just chaos. I just don't understand that system at all.
But it's like with Singapore. I lived in Singapore for a year. And yes, there's a lot of apartment blocks. But in the apartment blocks, you've got these chutes that go down.
Yeah.
You put you in there. There's a big skip at the bottom. Every day the skip's taken out.
Yes.
And it's very, very simple.
So you see all these things.
Everything's out there.
Everything can be very simple when you get it into community level. When you've got someone, in a big parliament building in London making decisions for your street, one, that's not cost effective. And two, they're only going to do something that suits them, where they're going to make money in London, and it's not really going to be efficient for you on the ground. So what we've just described right now is a good example of it, isn't it?
It is. It is. And the other thing we learned, obviously, with Singapore as well, they've created an island off Singapore made of recycled waste. And now they're growing plants and trees and everything on there, and they're completely shocked that they're growing beautifully.
That's incredible.
It is incredible, but they've recycled everything.
Yeah.
Everything's gone through a recycling plant, come out, and they've created it, plastics, everything.
Yeah. And
they've created this island. It was a test space, and it's worked out 10 times better than they ever expected. Because it's almost compost with other stuff, and it just works. Somehow it works.
And that's where we're heading, that's the sort of world we're heading into, where we start to have more innovative ideas.
Yeah.
And we know our local communities better. That's where it's all heading.
It is. Look,
how are we getting there, Charlie? That's the thing. How are we getting there? I mean, what are the next steps, do you think?
The next steps are fairly simple. It's a question of getting rid of this cognitive dissonance and getting rid of this programming, learning the truth, because we've been lied to consistently on so many levels. Even down to the simple fact that I had this debate the other day: is the Earth flat or round? It doesn't really matter if it's round or flat. The only thing that matters is if NASA's lied to us. Well, we know they have. And we know the pictures they put out are a load of rubbish because they're all computer generated. They've all been debunked years ago. So you can waste a lot of time on unnecessary things. I think the most important thing that we need to learn on this journey, who we are as individuals. Who am I? Who are the people around me that need help? My pet hate is what England and America and Australia, New Zealand, South Africa and Canada have done with old people, is just process them through an old people's home as they get old. I think with the new Oneness Fund, it's time to start building extensions on houses. And
Charlie, something they channeled to me about that would interest you is they said that in the future, houses will in some way be connected through technology. And it will know. So if you've got an elderly person living next door and say their blood pressure goes down, or they're having a heart attack, or they've fallen on the floor, that the system will know even before they have the heart attack that something's not right. And they can alert, first of all, the ambulance, but also they could alert, say, a designated neighbor, or they could get help to them. So that means that elderly people who don't necessarily want to live with their family, because not everybody wants that. They want to be independent and on their own possibly, but they might be a bit afraid in case like they fall or something. So they're saying that these technologies will link the whole community together. So you will have your privacy, but it means that if something happens to you and you've set the system to say, you know, if I fall, can somebody come and get me? Then that kind of clears up that worry, doesn't it? That if anybody's not living on their own.
Yeah, I think I half agree with you about old people. I think a lot of the programming of these old people is I've heard it said many times, I'd be a burden on them. They don't want to be a burden on anyone. The reality is right now they'd be an asset. And they're brainwashed into believing that they're a burden.
Yeah.
And there'd be a lot. I don't want to be under your feet. Yes, you can have a separate place attached to our house with a door that you can come through to, that you're there. We can come and see you.
Yes. I mean, some of these experiments where they've been putting kindergarten children with the elderly people, you know, and mixing them, that's had really great benefits and results. So we know that it's a good idea to keep mixing everybody together and not creating this isolation that we've got right now. Yeah,
it's all about isolation. They thrive on it. They thrive on isolating, getting old people away from young people, and it's division.
Yeah.
Whether it's black or white, Muslim, Christian, old or young, it's all about division. Divide, 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 and conquer. Divide and rule. That's what they always wanted to do. Yeah. And they've impressed on old people that they become a burden. Don't be a burden on your family. It's like, really? You know, all this brainwashing that they're a burden. I love old people. I find them fascinating because they've, you know, some of their stories. I think in my life I've been a little bit naughty. They've been naughtier, but they've never told anyone because nobody's had the time to listen to them. I mean, they were eating magic mushrooms and smoking biftas back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah,
I was born in 1960.
Yeah.
And these people know what they're talking about. It was very much a changing culture.
Well, you know, they were burning their bras, weren't they? You know,
yes,
they were really out there, Charlie.
Well, one of my very good friends, Sarah Wattam, she and I have been friends for many, 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 many years. She was my secretary, my PA for years. A wonderful, wonderful lady. Her mother, who still lives down here on the Costa del Sol, is, I don't know how old she'd be now. She'd be 80, I would think, in her 80s. She still talks about when she went out in London in a fur coat and no knickers. She's 80 years old. And after a few drinks, Sarah's going, Mum, shut up, shut up. She said, sometimes I went out with nothing on apart from my fur coat, nothing.
Wow.
And that's how they did it back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And we think that they don't know what's going on.
She wasn't that famous madam in London, was she? Well, I can't think of the name now.
No, it wasn't. No,
it wasn't. No. It wasn't her. No.
No, it wasn't. But look, if it was her, and it was, she wasn't the only one. She wasn't the only one. They had a lot of fun in those days. Yeah. And we think, oh, they're old, they wouldn't understand. I can assure you.
Of course they do.
If you, I've been into many, many old people's homes in my life, many, many. I talked to many of them. And if you start getting cheeky with an 80 or 90-year-old, you see the reaction you get. They'll tell you some real naughty stories.
Yes.
That you go and they're so funny. They're so funny.
Yes. So talking of elderly, what do you think's going on with our Queen then? Because I had a little look at the Queen for you.
Yes.
Because they were actually saying to me that she was gone in 2018. That she's
that's right.
Yeah. But they're saying that the official death, which obviously hasn't happened yet for the masses, it is going to create like a period of what they called procedural mourning.
Correct.
But they also explained to me that there are only 3 events left now to go in this military plan, and that the Queen's death, the official Queen's death, will be the final marker.
That's right, the 4th one.
Yes. And
That's
when
correct.
I asked them about a timescale for this, now they don't like giving timescales because we've already said it's about events, not necessarily dates. But what I was getting for the Queen's death, and I don't know what you've been getting for this, Charlie, but they're saying March to April next year. So I don't know if you've been and they're saying that's with the current progress that they actually have going on with obviously the military events behind the scenes. Now,
well, the markers,
she's the last, they're calling her the last marker. And I think you're saying that Ghislaine Maxwell's just gone into court. So she's probably one of those last 3 before the Queen. So
would Kyle Rittenberg's be the first one?
Sorry?
Would Kyle Rittenberg's case that where he got acquitted, that could be the first one?
I don't think so. I think that was just more of a distraction.
A distraction, yeah. I'll go with that.
I think
Ghislaine Maxwell is probably the first one. So there's 2 in the middle.
Absolutely. We've got 2 more.
Which
and then the Queen.
The third one will be the takedown of Biden and Harris.
So I think we've just got one that we need to figure out.
One that we need to figure out that's in the middle. I reckon.
We need one more. Yeah. But then my thinking was recently, because they're shutting down Germany and they're shutting down Austria.
Yes.
And underneath they said in very small letters that they were shutting it down so that everyone had to be vaccinated from February. It's in very small letters. Yes. So, I was kind of watching through my remote viewing, and it feels like the military are surrounding Switzerland.
Yes.
With a view to Switzerland, which holds the CERN Hadron Collider.
Yes.
For some reason, I feel, and I don't know why this is, but I feel like Switzerland is the final frontier.
Okay.
It's like they've done everything else. They've swept across everywhere else.
That could be the third one, and Biden, and the other one, Kamala Harris, could be the second one.
Yeah. So we've got Ghislaine.
Yeah. Biden got
the Austria thing going on. We've got Biden coming down, and then the Queen, and then hopefully, what the masses will see at that point will then start to unfold, because we'll have the Trump TV and social up and running by then.
Yeah.
Now, to what extent it will be running, I don't know, because I know that when I've been asking about this, they're still transitioning it to the quantum system.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to be a worldwide Trump TV or just for the USA, I think it's going to be worldwide. So if that takedown we had the other week of the Facebook and things is what is possible, then they really could have been testing for if they can do it. That's what I think that was all about.
I agree. When they take down Biden and Harris, if they're replaced by Meghan Markle, it could collapse even quicker.
Exactly. She gets blamed for everything.
You got to have some humor in the middle of it, haven't you? I mean, you can't make that one up, can you? You can't make that one up. That girl was made on a Friday out of spare parts. I mean, when they all connect, it's okay, but it's rare that they connect nowadays.
No, I know. So, I mean, it's very exciting, really, isn't it? I can't wait for these last few, what they're calling markers, to happen. And I think we're really close now. I think we're really close.
I think we are. I feel, I felt a shift.
Yeah.
I felt a shift in consciousness. I felt a shift in a lot of things. I'm now looking in people's faces who've got a common cold. And it's on them for 10 days. And I said, if you hadn't had the vaccination, this would have been over in 4 days. But your immune system is absolutely shredded because you got vaccinated, which has broken down your immune system. My godmother's one of them. And I could see it in her face. I said, if you damage your immune system, and it's not just by vaccination, it's by wearing a mask.
Even if it was just a flu vaccination, even if it was just a normal year.
Yeah, any vaccination.
It's going to have an effect on you. And then if your thinking is one of fear, then as soon as you get a little tiny sniffle or a sore throat, in any other period of time, you'd have just taken an ibuprofen. But now everybody's running around saying that they've got something that no one's been able to actually isolate.
Yeah.
Or prove.
If you take my good friend Chris Pomfret, who started off on Twitter a year or so ago, he has a grandson that has autism, severe autism. And it turns out that the mother had a vaccination during pregnancy. So it's
Yes.
very, very clear. And this little boy is 8 years old, can't communicate at all with the outside world. Very, very sad. And for some reason, they took this young lad to a stables, and he got on horseback, and he rode like he's ridden all his life. And then he just started talking.
Wow. It's incredible, isn't it?
And we have all the answers out there in nature,
Yes.
whether it's plants or animals, I don't know. But
It's
horses,
all frequency.
it's all frequency.
Yeah.
I used to go riding in Bath.
Oh, yes.
We used to do a pub crawl on horseback, do 5 or 6 pubs.
Really?
Yeah, we go out on a Friday night on horseback, and it was by the time you done 4 or 5 pubs, you'd ride home flat out, and the horses loved it because there was no resistance. But a good friend of mine, Heather, she was one of these women that when she was good, she was very, very good, but when she was bad, she was horrid. And she just had one of these real bad strops on. She was just grumpy, grumpy, grumpy. And the horse felt it. And the horse just wanted to stop and eat. And she was like getting angry with it. And she was getting so frustrated. And I said, look, let's switch horses. Mine is absolutely perfect. I'll ride yours. And I got on hers and it rode perfectly. Then my horse stopped and wanted to. And it's vibrations. It feels everything. It understands everything.
It's
and she
true.
just looked at me and I said, look, it's not the horse. And she just looked at me as if to say,
vibration. Yeah. Well, the thing is, Charlie, I've got this machine called a Rife machine.
Yeah.
RIFE.
Yeah.
And I bought it a few months ago, and it took me weeks to set it up because I'm not an IT person. But I suffer with chronic migraines since I was about 14. Every day, really bad headaches. And since I've had this machine switched on, which is basically a frequency machine, I haven't had to take any medicine for migraines for the whole time it's been switched on.
Wow.
And it's so clever because you just put these 2 sort of sensors on you at the beginning, and you switch the machine on, and it sends a frequency through your body.
Yeah.
And it looks at all the organs and everything going on. So a liver, when it's healthy, will have a frequency of health.
Yeah.
And if it's not healthy, the scan, when it goes through, will know that it's not balanced. So when you've got your pads on, it's doing a scan all through to see if all your organs are balanced in frequency. And then at the end, it gives you a computer thing in a printout that says, this is what you need to do next. This is where you're unbalanced. And then what you do is you take a tiny piece of DNA, so it can be like a piece of hair or a piece of nail or saliva, and you put it into the remote part of it, and you tell it to run what the scan just found. So the scan now knows that your liver is not balanced. So it now knows it's got to send you healing.
Wow.
And when you put the nail in and you're out walking the dog, it's doing something called quantum entanglement, which it was Alexander Quinn that explained.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he said it's the theory of, and it's been proven, that when you're out walking the dog and your bit of fingernail is in the machine having the frequencies sent, that your nail is, because it's DNA, is still communicating with you wherever you are. So when you're out walking, it's still communicating with you. So once you've done that initial scan with the pads on, you can then go about your life, and you just run this program constantly in the background. And it's just, you can feel it working. So I thought, well, what I'll try is something where it's more obvious. So I told it that I couldn't sleep because you can put other things into it. So I said to it that I had insomnia.
Yeah.
I tried this a few days ago, and I was fiddling around with it about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And what the program said it would do was it would stimulate melatonin and some other things, which, is the sleep hormone. Well, I'm telling you, Charlie, my eyes were just, by an hour later, when this program was running, I literally had to go to bed, and I slept for 12 hours straight.
Wow. It's a Rife machine.
It's a Rife machine, RIFE.
Yeah.
And I'm actually starting to, I'm not saying this actually as a sales pitch, but I am actually selling them on my website if anyone's interested. But
I am.
I'm telling
people. So will Lee Hemmington.
I'm telling people because some of the ones I've seen are very, very expensive. And this one this one isn't expensive. I mean, if you go for like maybe 6 acupuncture sessions, you're probably spending more than if you got this little unit. And as I said, once it's got your sort of piece of DNA in it, which will your nail will last for a month in there, it's automatically sending you whatever you've asked it to send. And if you don't know what to send, as I said, it does this scan. So everything is frequency. And when I did that sort of test on the sleeping, I could see how it really does work. And I mean, if you've got other people in the house, like I've got 4 dogs. So if you took a little clipping of your dog's nail and you put it in the system, you could actually be sending frequencies to your dogs or your cats. And the other amazing thing is if you're allergic to like dust mites from animals, you know, like the dander, which I tend to get quite like a sinusy reaction because I've got so many animals. You can tell the machine about that and it will kill the dust mites in your house because it sends them a frequency
that they can't live in.
It's just incredible. And mold and everything. If you've got mold in the house, because that's a living entity,
sure,
you can tell it to go to the mold and it will kill the mold.
Wow.
So you see,
how
these
clever.
beds, they're not really that far away because it's something probably just as simple as that.
Sure.
But you know.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, if you send us the link, we'll put the link in below for your website.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I'm
Because
just seeing if I've got some other things to tell you about. Let me just see a minute before. I think we've discussed. Oh, I think you were asking me about the emergency broadcast system.
Yes.
Now, they keep telling me that there isn't actually a need for it because the Trump TV is going to be what they're going to use.
Correct.
And I think the emergency broadcast system was something they'd thought about some time ago. If they maybe had to go sooner and they didn't have the Starlink maybe ready. Because obviously, you know, that it's taken a bit of time to get everything into position and maybe to get that set up. So perhaps if they had gone a year earlier, they might have needed to use the EBS. But at the moment, I think they're just going to use the new Trump network.
Okay, that fits.
But I think the most interesting thing is that we've only got these, what was it? We said 3 or 4 markers before the Queen.
The 4th, yeah, three before the Queen.
Yeah.
4 included, the 4th one is the Queen.
Yeah, it looks like she's going to be the final marker and then it's all systems go.
Yeah, that's right. The first one's already started, which is Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah.
And that's a massive case.
Yeah. So that's exciting.
There'll be the collapse of the Biden Harris.
Have you got anything else to share, Charlie, that is going on today?
Only that everything's under control.
Yeah.
They've told me to keep very, very quiet about it because they don't want distractions. But there's been so much interference and so many people who tried to stop everything and cause harm and damage. But they expected it. They were prepared for it. And evil, there's no chance evil can even get close to winning this. The good side have already won it. It's just this whole process is I think I've read this 3 or 4 times from Chris Moore Knox, and it's out of the Bible, 2 Peter 3 verse 9. The Lord isn't really being slow about his promise, as some people think. No, he is being patient for your sake. He does not want anyone to be destroyed, but he wants everyone to repent. So it's biblical. It's there.
Yeah. Oh, I love that what you just said. That's amazing. Yeah.
It ties everything together.
It does. Yeah.
And at no stage have I been, I want it to happen. I want it to happen. No. It'll happen at the right time.
And I've always felt really calm like you, you know, I've always felt like it's all under control and it's just about getting pieces into place. People forget that this is a worldwide operation. It's not just going to turn itself around overnight. They've got to get everything exactly into position before they start, you know, trying to go forward. And it would just be ridiculous to try and rush it now at this late stage. They need to be absolutely, I think what they're doing is absolutely right. The way the strategy they're using.
I agree.
We've got to get it right this time, you know?
There's no chance of them not getting it right, I promise you. They have it under control, but they're just making double, triple sure. There's no mistakes, no contamination. They're making sure that they rid the world of evil.
Yeah, I totally agree
Yeah.
with that. That just fits exactly with the messages I always get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle, it's great to see you in body. Normally
Yes.
it's just talking to you on the phone. Sometimes we do video chat, but
Yes. No,
great
it's
to
good
see you.
You're looking very well.
Yeah, things are good. Things are very positive and very, very exciting.
And your plant's looking very healthy. You've managed to keep it alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking really healthy there.
Well, mother-in-law comes in and waters it every day, so
yeah. I thought you were going to say to me it was plastic then.
No, it's not. It's real.
It's not plastic. It's real, isn't it?
No, it's real.
Yeah, it's a
real
very
plant. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, we're blessed down here. We get some really good plants. I took my mother-in-law shopping yesterday, and she bought a load more plants, and 10 packs of seeds because we grow all our own vegetables and fruits and all that. So it's all lovely.
Yeah, lovely, nice and fresh.
Yep.
Okay, well, take care, lovely.
You too, sweetheart. You look after yourself.
I'll probably be speaking to you later on the phone.
Later on, exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
All right, Michelle.
Bye for now, everyone. Bye.